So I'll open it up now. The floor is open up to the community for a question and answer period where, again, come up to the microphone and state your name. And now this is where you have the general comment period and not pertaining to anything in particular. And please, first one.
Okay.
Andrea.
Hello, Andrea and Henry. This has probably been aired a number of times, but I've always wondered, Dale, what are your credentials? Are you a scientist or are you
I'm a biologist.
You're a biologist. So why can she say that you don't have enough air monitors and you can just say we're not going to listen to her?
Well, that's what they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what the Navy does. The Navy does not really listen to the community members.
Well, what's the point? What's the point of having us here, and what's the point of having a biologist here?
Well,
If you're not
we
gonna
actually do listen. We actually do listen, but again, we have approved work plans that are run through regulators that rigorously look at it, and we have to be able to answer comments to get approval, and they've granted approval on that.
Are air
One of the-
monitors really expensive?
One of the things that we have to do is be in compliance with the Bay Area Air Quality Management District rules and regulations, and that's what we follow. So much of what you see here is not created by the Navy, made up by the Navy. We're simply following protocols, industry protocols most of the time, or protocols that are called for by generally state, regional, and local regulators to generate these plans. And the contractors who have their licenses, on the line for this type of work also have to be in compliance with these general procedures.
Like Lennar and Tetra Tech, who are notorious for screwing up. It's on national news how much they screw up.
Well,
And how
I
much
think you're speaking in general.
they violate their own, they say they're going to do something and they don't.
Well, what I can speak to is the contractors that we have on our team and that we've awarded contracts to at Treasure Island. And I don't think that, I think that the folks that are doing particularly the two projects that we presented tonight are doing a great job. And I think the regulators that oversee them would agree with that.
They don't live here.
Indeed, but what they are is qualified professionals who do this for a living.
Yeah, but they don't live here.
The regulators don't live here?
No.
That's true.
No, and they really don't care about us, I don't think. Yeah, well, you're worried about the water table and the fish, but when they're doing this pounding and making a 50-foot hole in the ground with the 70-year-old pipes that we're drinking water out of running past, and our water turns brown and sewage comes up in the schoolyard right near my house, it's just, that's why I have a headache. I am so stressed out by this.
I'm sorry to hear that, Andrea, but that particular last set of conditions you indicated is not part of the Navy Environmental Cleanup Program. So,
You're right, you're not responsible.
well,
That's right.
it's not so much as I have to point out that
You're the
there is-
radiation, the city is the other crap that we're living in out here, that we
No,
shouldn't be
no.
living in.
Not at all. Not at all.
Could you explain sewage is coming up?
Well, on our next door website, our social network, when just a couple weeks ago during the pounding, people were saying there's sewage coming up in the schoolyard
Sewage came from where?
from the ground,
Yeah.
and puddles, stinky puddles, and people's water coming out of their faucets brown.
And I would just add that I think that's why we are here, and we will continue to listen to the community about all concerns, including air monitoring. We discuss it constantly. It's something that we talk about a lot. I think we will continue to discuss it and review the data. So I would say,
Discussing, reviewing, I've been living here 10 years.
I think we discussed what we're doing. We've continued to monitor the air for all projects. And the data itself shows that there really are not any air quality issues near the site where the workers themselves work or in the housing, and that's what the data shows.
I don't see how
But we
you
will
can tell
continue.
if you don't have enough air monitors. How can you tell? You won't put more than
We're
6 on.
we're actually not saying we have enough, but the question was,
We're not.
are you listening to the community? I think we wouldn't be here if we were not listening to community. And we will continue to reevaluate to to see if there's anything more we can do.
Is anyone
within
besides
reason.
me here from the community? Anyone raise your hand? Do you know why the community's not here?
I live here.
Okay, well, you didn't raise your hand.
I did.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Well, what do you think?
I'm right next to the dig and I haven't had any problems
Oh, okay. How long have you been living here?
since first year.
Yeah,
Well-
I've been here 10 years.
They've only been digging there a couple of months.
So Andrea, I understand your concerns, and again, I think I indicated at the last RAD meeting, with the specific concerns you had, I believe, in the best interest and the best use of your time to actually get something done, you ought to be talking to your housing provider and use the opportunity to talk to Mr. Beck when he's here at these meetings. And I think that's what we covered at last meeting, and I wish you would do that.
Okay.
I think you'd find a little more satisfaction, particularly something like an infrastructure problem. As you described with the sewage spill, he can certainly drill down and get to the ground truth of what occurred there. If it's something related either to the San Francisco PUC or the wastewater treatment plant or another infrastructure problem, he can help you working with the housing providers to get clarity on those things.
Well, I went on the van tour, bus tour of the Bayview Hunters Point Naval Shipyard on Saturday.
Great.
And I'm going to speak slowly. It was the same dog and pony show that you guys have, where you're crowing about how wonderful all of your work is here, but yet we're living in sewage and toxic waste. Really bad toxic waste. Carcinogenic toxic waste. Things that cause migraines, just, I can't even think of it now. Confusion, skin problems, stomach problems, all of which I have.
I'm sorry for that.
I met a man who grew up here. He was raised here on Saturday, and his wife, who also grew up here, died of muscular cancer that was all over her body. He lived right across the street from me on Reeves Court while he was growing up. He's okay, but his sister just had a daughter or a son with multiple internal organ failures at birth. So it's not something you get in a couple months. It's long-term exposure, and you know it. And I'm really angry.
Okay. Thank you for your comment.